One of these men was brainwashed by the communists. What is your name, please?
My name is Bud Mahurin.
My name is Bud Mahurin.
My name is Bud Mahurin.
Only one of these men is the real Bud Mahurin. The other two are imposters and will try to fool this panel. Robert Q. Lewis, Betty White, Barry Nelson, and Kitty Carlisle. On To Tell the Truth with your host, Bud Collyer.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and welcome once again to Tell the Truth, brought to you this week by Salem Cigarettes. Good evening, panel. Good evening. Well, how are you all this evening? Ready to go here and raring too? Let's get to it, shall we? Not waste any time. Suppose you open up that envelope, take out your affidavit card, and follow along with me on this first one. I, Walker Bud Mahurin, was a leading American ace in World War II. I shot down 21 enemy planes. At the outbreak of the Korean War, I was reactivated as commander of a fighter group. While over communist territory, I was shot down and captured. I was placed in solitary confinement. After 16 months of grueling interrogations and unbelievable mental pressures, I realized I was beginning to crack. To retain my sanity, I concocted a phony confession. Finally released, I returned home only to face public disgrace. At a military tribunal, I was not only completely exonerated, but my testimony became the basis for a classified Air Force manual on the communist techniques of brainwashing. Signed, Bud Mahurin. Panel, these three gentlemen all claim to be Bud Mahurin, Air Force hero. We'll start this questioning with Barry Nelson. Barry?
Thank you, Bud. Number 3, what city were you, what was the nearest city in Russia that you were captured in?
The nearest place to Russia?
Yes. No. It was in Russia that you fell, wasn't it?
No. It was North Korea.
Where was the, how many prisoners were with you in that prison? Or were you in solitary?
I was in solitary.
Number 2, were you given any liquids of any kind during this brainwashing that might have contributed to your dilemma?
Nothing that could be confused with drugs or anything of that.
To whom did you confess? What was the rank of the man?
They don't determine ranks in communist societies.
Could you, number 1, describe the place where you were interrogated very briefly?
Yes, it was a room that was well lit, of course, and very sparse in furniture.
Kitty.
Sounds like home. Well, you have a new apartment. Number 2, it's a fascinating story. Could you tell us what line of interrogation it took?
Well, there was first a military interrogation, and then the second interrogation involved propaganda, the fact that the United Nations were waging bacteriological war with the North Koreans and Chinese communists.
Thank you. Number 3, were you taken in by any of their propaganda?
No.
Number 1, what did they give you to eat?
Gruel, rice, and some, what we call boiled bread.
Number 2, did you have any exercise at all?
No.
None at all. Number 3, when you were being interrogated and you began to think up your own story, did they accept this?
I really didn't have the chance to think of my own story. They prompted me and gave me the choice of agreeing with it or not.
Thank you.
Robert Q. Lewis.
Number 3, have you ever read a novel called Manchurian Candidate?
Yes, I have.
May I ask you, number 3, if you know the author?
I believe it's Congdon. Well, quite a while ago.
Number 1, have you read Manchurian Candidate?
Yes, I have.
There's quite a lengthy description of interrogation and various means of pressuring people. Was any of that technique employed on you?
Yes, some.
May I ask exactly what, please?
Some of that's still classified.
That's classified. Number 2, who is in charge? You were a commander of a fighter group. Who was directly above you in command?
The wing commander.
Who was he, please?
His name was Harrison Thing.
Betty White.
Thank you, Bud. Number 3, when you, say, signed this allegedly phony confession, did they accept it readily?
No.
How many people did you have to go through before they accepted
I
it?
only dealt with one person.
At all times?
No, only
Oh,
at the end.
only-
When I had the confession, and he gave me certain things that I had to include in it. And when I finished it, he 3 times brought it back. It was minor change.
And number 2, how long after you signed it were you released?
I was released the next day.
Number 1, do you agree with that?
That's all the time we have, I'm sorry to say. It is,
You won't tell.
as Kitty said, a fascinating, or rather grimly fascinating story. But it's time for you to mark your ballots now. That's the grim truth of this moment, so please mark them at once, if you will, without change, and of course, no consultation is permitted while voting. For number 1, or number 2, or number 3. Our team of challengers will receive the usual $250 for every incorrect vote. All ballots marked, panel?
Yes.
Everyone? Bob, for whom did you vote?
Bud, no matter which of the 3 is Bud Mahurin, I'm really looking forward to shaking his hand after they show. I'm playing a real hunch again. Number 3 has a little gray hair, and boy, if I had been through anything like that. I also liked his answer. I'm voting for number 3.
Betty, what is your choice?
I, too, voted for number 3 on possibly some of the same reasons. Number 1, I like the way he said classified. He sounded like he really meant it, but I think it was his way of chickening out on answering. And number 3 was in World War II and was a leading American ace, and I remember World War II, and I have a little gray in my hair, too. I think it's number 3.
Barry.
Well, they all did so well, Bud, it seems unfair to discriminate, so I voted for all 3.
Which did you vote for?
Kitty.
I voted for number 3 for precisely the same reasons, and I'm sure we're all wrong.
Well, it could happen, of course. Sometimes unanimity is good. Sometimes it leads you down the primrose path. Let's see what it did this time as we learn which one of these gentlemen actually is the real Air Force hero. So will the real Bud Mahurin please stand up? I would have found this stuff out that they were good. Yes, Betty.
His mummy used to lift him up into his plane in World War II.
Well, he's not going to tell you how close or minus that one may be, but it's I speak in behalf of all of us, as Bob started to say, that we're mighty proud to have you in our presence, sir.
Thank you.
Thank God there are Americans like you. Number 1, what is your real name and what do you really do?
My name is Chuck Riley, and I'm Vice President of the Wilcox Walter Furlong Paper Company in New Brunswick, New Jersey.
And number 3, you with the gray in your hair, who walked off with all the votes. What is your real name and what do you do?
My name is John Dirks. I'm a sculptor. I design and build copper fountains.
Well, gentlemen, it's the first time in a long time, on behalf of Salem Cigarettes, there were 4 incorrect votes, and therefore $1,000 that you take along with you, with our blessings and thanks. And I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And again, I say to you, we're mighty proud of you. Good night, and pick up a carton of Salem's on your way out. Thank you again, and God bless you. Incidentally, Bud Mahurin has related his experiences in a book, which I know you'll find fascinating, published by Putnam, and it is called Honest John. So he had to tell the truth tonight, see, as Honest John. All right, now it takes time right now. We're going to take time for a little refresher course in springtime freshness. It only takes a minute, so watch. Meet our next team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Wally Green.
My name is Wally Green.
My name is Wally Green.
Will you follow along with your copies of this affidavit, panel? I, Wally Green, am a professional dancer and choreographer. I am responsible for the choreography of such movies as Irma La Douce and Some Like It Hot. Some 14 months ago, my career took an intriguing turn. I became the chief instructor for the Pink Pussycat College of Burlesque Dancing. The tuition for the 10-lesson course is $100. In addition to the regular dancing lessons, we give courses in the history and theory of the art, the psychology of inhibitions, and controlling the structural components of the anatomy. Vocational advice and assistance is provided for all students. Upon graduation, our alumni all assume stage names such as Fran Sinatra, Rocket Hudson, and Peeler Lawford. Signed, Wally Green. Panel, these three persons all claim to be the same one, namely Wally Green of the Pink Pussycat College. We'll start this cross-examination with Robert Q. Lewis. Bob?
Bud, I hate like the dickens to do this, but I do know one of these people, and I must disqualify myself.
Okay. Very well, we proceed then to Betty White. Betty?
This is an old graduate on my right. Number 3, how long is the course?
It's 10 lessons, and it can be used over any amount of time that we or the student sees fit.
Number 2, in this controlling the structural components of the anatomy, does a certain amount of natural talent have to enter in there?
Yes.
I mean, the thing that always intrigues me are these tassel twirlers, and I don't know whether you're born that way or whether you can teach that in 10 lessons.
It can be taught in 2.
In 2? I will leave that right there. Number 1, the psychology of inhibitions. Do you find that some of the girls who come to you, I assume most of them are girls, do you find that they have inhibitions as far as burlesque dancing is concerned?
Most of them do, and yet I think...
Barry?
Yes, number 2. It's kind of a strange thing to go from what you have been doing into this. Could you tell us a reason why?
It came quite by accident. My mother got me the job.
Your mother got you the... Number 3, how many students do you have?
Currently, I have 24.
From what walks of life do these students come?
Secretaries, housewives, grandmothers.
I see. Number 1, how long does it take to graduate from the course? I'm not interested, but I mean...
Well, actually, after they finish their regular amount of lessons, they don't graduate formally, but they're ready to dance.
I see.
Kitty?
Number 1, when you graduated from this, if you're a housewife, where do you use it?
At home, of course.
At home?
Yes, well, most women that are housewives are not really interested in doing it professionally. They're doing it because I think there's a little bit of the vamp in every woman.
Oh, indeed. Number 2, who directed the movie Irma la Douce?
Billy Wilder.
Number 3, can you tell me Jerry Robbins' last production on Broadway?
No, I can't.
Do you know number 1?
I believe it may have been West Side Story.
Thank you. Number 2...
And that's all the time we have, I'm sorry to say.
I didn't get a chance to ask if they teach me.
I'm real sorry, but I'm sure we can work it out, Kitty. Don't worry about it. But please mark your ballots now, if you will, please, at once, without change and without consultation, which you know is not permitted while you are voting. Vote now for number 1, number 2, or number 3. Are all ballots?
Wait a minute.
All right, while you're marking your ballot, I'll remind everyone that Bumps Lewis has disqualified himself down there, and that will go as an incorrect vote. All right, Betty, for whom did you vote?
Well, it was such a grind trying to figure it out. I voted for number 2 because most choreographers, not all of them, of course, there are outstanding exceptions, but most choreographers are fellas. I think it's number 2.
Barry?
I voted for number 3. I like the structural components of her anatomy.
That's the best reason I've heard in 7 years. Kitty?
Well, I voted for number 2. Number 1 walked down the stairs as if she were a dancer and didn't hold on to the railing. Number 3, I voted for number 2 because I agree with you. It's with notable exceptions like Agnes DeMille and so forth. And he said Billy Wilder right off the bat. And number 1 said West Side Story, and I think it was Mother Courage for Jerry Robbins' last production. So,
all right, there we have it. 1 disqualification and 2 for 2 and 1 for 3. Let's go for that and see how it works out in the squared circle of truth and finding out which one of these persons actually is the instructor at the college known as the Pink Pussycat. So, Will the Real, Wally Green, please stand up. Good job all the way. Number 1, what is your real name and what do you really do?
My name is Ronnie Leonards, and I'm a fashion coordinator in New York City.
Number 3, what is your real name and what do you do?
My name is Imee Lane, and I'm the copywriter for the television show The Price is Right.
Oh, my. Bob, suppose you tell us now why you disqualified yourself and because of whom.
Well, let me explain. In the first place, I have never taken instruction at the Pink Pussycat. Neither have I given it. Actually, I walked into the Price is Right office today, chatting with some people, and all of a sudden, number 3, Imee, came in, went, and walked right out again. I had no idea what it was all about until I saw her tonight. So there you are.
Okay, well, it was advantageous for you ladies because in checking the score, there were actually only 1 incorrect vote, but that goes as an incorrect vote. That makes it 2, so at $250 each, your smile should come at the $500 that is coming your way from Salem Cigarettes, and, of course, a carton of Salem's on your way out. Thank you very much for giving us the fun that you did, and hope you enjoyed it, too. Good night. God bless you. Now, I think it's about time for us to enjoy some refreshments. Are you ready to watch 2 people in love in the springtime? Now let's meet our 3rd team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Brigida Troy. My name is Brigida Troy. My name is Brigida Troy.
May I read this affidavit to you, panel, and ask you to follow along on your copies? I, Brigida Troy, am co-editor with my husband of the 1963 edition of a travel book designed primarily for college students. Our guide particularly emphasizes those special places where the young at heart can meet other congenial people of their own age and interests. Armed with this book and an international student identity card, a young person can discover how to ride trains and buses at half fare, where to find meals for 20 cents, how to hitchhike, how to get a summer job abroad, and how to get the use of a car free. The purpose is to give youthful travelers all the facts we wish we had known on our student trips to Europe. The book is called Let's Go, A Student Guide to Europe, signed Brigida Troy. Now, we bring you 3 ladies, all claiming to be the same author-editor, I should say, Brigida Troy, editor of a student travel book. May we start this round with Kitty Carlisle. Kitty?
Thank you, Bud. Number 2, I'm going abroad this year. Could I take advantage of your information?
Yes, you could.
Even though I'm not a college student?
That's right. Anybody can use it.
Number 3, how do you get a car for free?
Well, that sort of has something to do with luck, really, because you
with
go...
what?
With luck.
Uh-huh.
Because you go to an agency, say in Paris or in Rome or London, someone who delivers cars, and
needs
do it
to be delivered. I see. Thank you. Number 1, how can I travel for half fare if I'm under 12? I mean, over 12.
I don't know, but if you find out, would you let the rest of us know?
Well, it says here you can travel half fare.
With a student card.
Huh?
With a student card.
Oh, with a student card. Ah, well, there you are.
There went that dream. Robert Q.
Well, let me carry on that line of questioning. Where would a person get an international student identity card? Number 2.
He would get it from the National Student Association here in New York.
Number 3, would there be any age limit? Suppose there are many grandmothers and grandfathers studying at colleges. Would they be permitted to
As long as they were legitimate students, yes.
All right, number one, I'm very curious about the 20-cent meal. In what country could that be gotten?
Well, it's not necessarily, confined to the country. It's where you go. And this particular reference happens to be to a resident house in a college.
And number two, is it
Betty.
Number 2 is a pup. Is a pup. Number 2, where did you do your research for this book?
We did it in Europe.
You and your husband?
That's right.
Number 1, had you traveled before you were married?
Yes.
A great deal?
Not that much, no, but no.
Number 3, where would you say is the most popular place in Europe for meeting other congenial young people?
Well, I think Paris is probably the best place for students. It's not where I had the most fun, but I think Paris probably has the most students.
Where did you have the most fun?
Rome, I like Rome.
Number 2, thank you.
Barry.
All right, number 2, what is the price of one of those cards?
Of one of the cars?
No, cards.
Oh, the cars. I believe it's $1.
Number 3, who wrote The Poor Man's Guide to Europe? Mike's kind of book.
$5 a day.
Yeah.
Arthur Fromer.
Oh, he did? All right. Now, number 1, what would be how much should a student expect going on one of these cards to pay at, say, 4 weeks vacation?
4 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, it depends, of course, upon how you're going to travel once you get there. I mean, if you're going to travel by rail or if you're going to travel by car.
That's all the time we have. So while you're making up your minds how you're going to travel, will you mark your ballots, please? Mark them at once. No change permitted, of course, once marked, and no consultation. Vote, if you will, for number 1, number 2, or number 3. All voting at an end, is it?
All right.
Robert, for whom did you vote?
I don't like what I did. they're all so pretty and so nice and everything. I voted for number 3, but I don't like it.
You don't like her, or you don't like it?
She's too obvious, I think. But I don't know.
Betty.
I voted for number 3 and I liked it. I tell you, number 2 faded a little bit on that price of the identity card. I think she would know the price very, very rigidly if she had written this book with her husband. Number 3 got me on the answer to the author of your book that you mentioned, and please tell me that it's a real book. You didn't make up that book.
I didn't think that was...
Barry, what is your vote?
I didn't think... I'm voting only because I'm a good citizen. But I voted for number 1, because 3 just hasn't worked out tonight, I guess. And I think 3 was wrong about the book.
Oh, swell.
Kitty.
I think it's number 1, but I voted for number 2. And I don't honestly think it matters about the price of the card. She wrote the book, really, you know. At least I'm convinced she did. And number 1 said that it was not going to be possible for me to travel at half fare, and that made me sore.
All right. There we have it for some of the finest reasons in the world. The votes are there. Let's see how near the truth they are as we learn which one of these young ladies actually is the student travel book editor. So will the real Brigitte Troy please stand up? Well, we thank you. You're some very good actresses in that little trio there, I'll say. You did a good job of fooling. Let's find out about your 2 friends now. Number 1, what is your real name and what do you really do?
My name is Sheila Scranton, and I work for an art director here in New York.
Number 3, you got half of the votes. What is your real name and what do you do?
My real name is Judy Shepard, and I work for the operations manager at the IBM Time Life Data Center.
Well, ladies, in checking the score, there's some very happy news for the 3 of you. Your smiles should remain for quite a long time because from Salem Cigarettes, for 3 incorrect votes at $250 each, you can add $750 cash coming your way, and may it bring you great happiness. Thanks for being with us, and pick up a carton of Salem's on your way out, if you will, please. Good night, and God bless you. The audience will be very interested to know that our beautiful Betty White will be starring in The King and I in St. Louis next week.
Yes, sir. Next Monday's opening night, and hold a good thought. I hope I do better than I do here.
And I'd like to remind you also that Robert Q is, let's see, you'll be in the Westchester County Playhouse, right?
Right.
Starting on August 6th, I believe it is, in Send Me No Flowers.
Thank
the
you,
rest of us will be right back here next week. By the way, have you been promising yourself that you will get seatbelts for your car? Well, don't delay. Get them. They save lives. In your car, not in the store, so get them. Good night, panel.
Good night, Bud.
Bless you all, and thank you for everything. And don't forget to join us the same time next week, and I'll be back with you tomorrow afternoon on our afternoon show. In the meantime, speaking for Salem Cigarettes, good night, and may I remind you once more to tell the truth. Good night.
To Tell the Truth is a Mark Goodson, Bill Todman production. Tell the Truth has been brought to you tonight by Salem, the cigarette that refreshes your taste. This is Johnny Olson speaking for To Tell the Truth. This program was pre-recorded.